Theatre Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
Who are you again?
Don't make me say it.
I think that you should just leave.
I want your soul, Sharky.
What?
I want your soul.
Welcome to Theatre Talk. I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
And I'm Susan Haskins.
Conor McPherson's The Seafarer at the Booth Theatre is one of the great plays of the season. If you've read the papers lately, you've seen heaps of praise for the terrific cast, and we're very happy to have 2/5 of that cast here with us tonight. We are joined by Ciarán Hinds, who was last on Broadway in Closer. Welcome to Theatre Talk.
Thank you.
And making his second appearance on Theatre Talk, an old friend of ours, CONLETH Hill, who was last on Broadway in Stones in His Pockets.
That's
Welcome.
right. How you doing?
So what's it like now? I mean, every time you pick up the newspaper, you see these critics saying possibly the best ensemble cast ever on Broadway.
Well, I can't argue with that. Can you?
Well, you could, but
won't.
there'd be no point to it, really.
But sort of, don't you think, what do you mean this ensemble stuff? I kind of shine a little bit more than those other guys. Doesn't that kind of occur to you at all?
No, not remotely.
Not at all.
But CONLETH, you were in the play in London, correct?
Yes, I
But
was.
you were not.
No, I
no,
wasn't.
no. So what was it like to have these new guys come into this property you had developed?
Very exciting. I've done it a few times with plays that the casts change, so you just approach it like you're starting again.
I mean, I by chance had seen it in London. I had somebody gave me a birthday present of a ticket to go and see it. At that stage, I had no idea that I'd be involved in it, and I just remember being really thrilled by the play, by the writing and the performances. But it's like whatever people are saying about this ensemble performance, it's exactly what I saw in London. It just happened to be the three different actors playing the roles, but I saw exactly a fantastic piece of ensemble.
Then is it the writing itself that lends itself to this ensemble kind of performance, and Conor McPherson's direction of you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a very complicated second act.
Yeah.
That has to be drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled.
Because it's like, in a way, to me, it's a bit like music, because the rhythms in it, playing three games of poker through this second half, while also engaging in kind of weird sense of dialogue with people pitching in some form of naturalistic sense. It has to be the rhythm and the syncopation. It has to be so tight, like orchestral in a way.
Kings and sevens.
Oh, yeah!
That's fucking.
Has it happened that somebody's dropped one thing and
Well, it just so happens that CONLETH Hill, apart from being a genius of an actor, is excellent at picking anybody out of a hole. I said that live, but there you
I
go.
have famous last words. Tonight I'll just freeze.
CONLETH is one of these extraordinary things.
Tonight
where
you just let him sink.
It's sure he can just come in and keep her going.
Is that true though? Are you good at doing that? You know, when he flubs up, you can say
no names.
No names. And I'm guilty of it myself, but I think we're all at a stage where we don't panic if something does slightly go wrong. It's live theatre, so it's some of the audience aren't aware of that.
Yeah, and it's the speed of the interplay between five people going at it all at once. So of course there's bound to be some.
Now, for people who haven't seen the play, let's just kind of sketch it in a little bit here. It's Christmas Eve, is it? I believe, right?
Christmas Eve in Baldoyle, which is just north of Dublin, a coastal small town, and two brothers, Richard Harkin and his brother James, who's known as Sharky, who has just come back from a job down the country to look after him for Christmas, and their friend Ivan, who seems to be in the house all the time.
And
because,
that's you?
he doesn't want to go home. And then two visitors arrive. Nicky, who's a friend, who brings this stranger with him called Mr. Lockhart.
Yes, who's from an otherworldly kind of figure.
But at the heart of it, these people really know each other and sort of love each other. They hang on to each other. Yeah,
it's a
through thick and
dysfunctional
thin and
family.
bitterness. But this is one of them picks up this stranger who is completely different to the other. You know, he's a snappy dresser and unlike
point at
myself.
yourself.
This is as by far as it
You're not
goes.
a snappy dresser.
I
My
play a
snappiness
trampy.
goes this far, and that's it, I have to say. But then they throw you in a suit, and you look very elegant in a big overcoat.
And a little menacing, I have to say.
And the red tie.
Yeah, red tie, red waistcoat. And,
Well, we don't want to give it away, although Conor was on here and he spoke openly about, you know,
Right.
you are playing a character who's a tempter, shall we say, a
Yeah.
devil. Why are you coming into this setting on this particular night?
Well, because of an issue that he had with one of the brothers, Sharky, who's sort of the center, the quiet center force of the piece, that 25 years ago they made a deal that Sharky, through his drinking and stuff, has forgotten that he was actually responsible for the death of a man. Because there's an element of seriousness to this night, but it's also, as you know, it's hysterically funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the mixture that Conor's tried to put in together, how seamlessly, how it suddenly goes dark. And the sort of the center of it is about Sharky coming to terms with having to give up his soul for something that he was responsible for 25 years ago.
And the payment is due and you're there to take it.
And it's,
And there's a lot to do with him giving up drinking as well. I mean, the overriding thing. I mean, you're drunk through the whole play.
Yeah,
we
but-
say that, and
but-
there's this overriding theme of combating those demons as well.
Yeah, there are
Interesting.
several alcoholics
Yeah.
in the play.
Yeah.
Do you play it at all that it slowly begins to dawn on you? Are you aware at all that he is not of your world, that he's in here for something else?
No, he's set out as a stranger because no one knows him. So that's otherworldly enough for us.
Yeah.
But no, we've no idea who he is.
So we're not giving away a surprise. The whole
No, I
thing
don't
is
think
so
so.
beautifully
No,
done.
in a way, because it's revealed, it's very shortly afterwards anyway. It's
Yeah,
when he says,
yeah.
when he's alone with them, because the whole point is the other three are oblivious
Are
to the fact
oblivious.
what he's there for.
Well, that's what's so
And-
clever about it. The two people who could possibly help him, one is blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you.
And the other, well, no,
You've lost
his
your
brother
glasses.
has lost
Yeah.
his sight completely,
Yeah.
but I've lost my glasses, so I can't see. him.
You're oblivious.
So when poor David Morse is suffering terribly, it's great because we can't see anything. We're just
Yeah, what's wrong
and we
with-
think he's affected by not drinking.
But now, aside from the devil,
Fascinating.
are these people, these Irish guys, are these people that you know from your lives?
Yes,
This kind of
I based-
person.
yeah.
Well, I don't know personally, but I've seen characters like
Yeah,
what
definitely.
You based it on
Jim
someone
and
you-
Ivan have.
Julia Roberts.
Sorry.
That's
Famous Irish drunk Julia Roberts. That's why this is such a brilliant ensemble. And you're doing Judy
Judy
Garland.
Garland, but with much higher heels. Okay.
Is there something archetypally Irish about these guys?
Yeah, I think so.
What is that?
Fondness for
Beyond the drinking.
the story-
Talking
Storytelling.
rubbish and storytelling,
Storytelling,
and
drinking.
and
Joy de
emotionalism.
vivre. That's Irish for joy of life.
Yeah, Ishkava, the water of life.
Yeah, but they
That's
do.
what
They
whiskey
do.
in Gaelic is
No
called.
matter how bad they are, I mean Richard and Ivan particularly. No matter how bad and how rotten and how stinking things are, they'll never give up. They'll keep going.
But that's an interesting theme, though, that is in Conor's plays, and I think it comes right about Casey, too. You have these people who, they can talk and they talk and they talk, but they never really accomplish much in life. They never seem to do anything. They never sort of push themselves along, but yet they don't give up.
No.
They don't get anywhere, but they don't give up.
Well, they love philosophizing as well, I suppose. But
Yeah, pub philosophy and
yeah, and storytelling. They just love.
yeah.
I do think that about the Irish, being part Irish myself, that there is something in the culture that people are so busy philosophizing and drinking that they do never get anywhere in terms of this kind of
Yeah, but
capitalistic accomplishment. That,
I don't
that
think
we
we're
look
saying
at.
that all Irish people.
No, because we'd be nicked for that.
Only
Yeah.
Julia
Oh,
Roberts.
Only the Julie Roberts Brigade is responsible for that.
Yeah, no, Ireland's a thriving economy. It's one of the strongest in Western Europe.
Belfast is booming now, I'm told.
Yeah, but in a different way than it used to.
But there are these group of people that we know very well who are at this Christmas party
Yes.
that you are exemplifying in this wonderful
Yeah,
play.
but I don't think Conor's ever set out to say this is Ireland.
Yeah, it's just
As such, it's not like a.
Because it's a little part of
Yeah, a
it's a
little.
small town. It's only a big village where they're coming from,
Yeah.
really. Do you know? And it's just in this little area. They know a few local people, and that's just the way their lives are surrounded. It doesn't go further.
also this
out
is
into the world.
families too. I mean, there's
Yeah.
something about the relationship of
Well, the
these
brothers
people.
is extraordinary. Between one who's blind and so cantankerous and just mean-spirited and very funny and really and yet deep down there's a huge need for this, what we thought was the bloodline or whatever with Sharky, that who he abuses so much. You know, it's so funny.
What I love so much about both your performances is the sort of physicality of it, just the way you move and carry yourself. I mean, you're almost a sort of, it doesn't do justice to it, but there's almost a kind of slapstick element to the way you kind of stumble around on stage.
No, absolutely.
Do you work out all of those things very, very
Most
carefully?
of it was in the script. I mean, all
Really?
the falls were in the script, and all the kind of walk into tables were in the script. But and I was glad of it, because to explain someone who falls so regularly.
Are these people? We know them. You know,
Yeah,
just accents,
absolutely.
And now you say you're both from the north of Ireland.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm Belfast.
You're from Belfast, all right. And were you an actor as a kid in school? Were your parents in
did
showbiz?
bits in school, bits of Shakespeare, and got to play Lady Macbeth at the age of 12. My mum says it's still the best thing she's ever seen me do. Terrible. You keep trotting stuff out and you go, no.
She goes,
No. But she's
Was
a great
it all
lover.
boys'
She's a
school?
great supporter as well. She's a great lover of theatre, but that's just like, yeah, it was all boys, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Have you had your Lady Macbeth?
I never played no. I was in all boys school as well, but my voice broke, so I didn't ever have to.
And where were you from, Belfast too?
No, Ballycastle.
Ballycastle, right. Now, big tradition of theatre in these places, or was it kind of an odd thing for a kid growing up in your world to go off to do?
I don't think in the Glens, because my mum now lives up in the Glens of Antrim, which is very close to Ballycastle, where CONLETH's from. There wasn't a great tradition of...
Well, there was amateur, I mean, and youth clubs and things like that.
And pantomime? Did you have the pantomimes there?
Not so much. There's a great tradition in the north of Ireland around of amateur companies formed
Still is.
all over the place. And there'd be amateur festivals, and they'd travel, play for weeks all over the place. Then they'd get to a grand final, and it still goes. So there's a strong tradition of
But
it.
I also saw Kieran in performance when I was...
Were you but a boy?
I was a child.
Teasing me. You're not that silly.
What did you really see him?
And what was I? I was
Well, you're
about
like-
60 then?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember, but I just remember you came on in your Zimmer frame, and I just went, I want to be like him when I grow up. No, it was the field day double bill.
Oh, yeah.
And what prompted you to go into it?
The money, the chicks, the drugs. I always wanted to do... I think circus actually started me off.
Honesty's the best policy.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, right. That's me. Circus, I think.
Circus.
When I was about 5, 6, the circus field was beside our house, and I saw one family being 7 different acts. One from Mexico, one from Argentina, you know, from all over the world, and that just really appealed to me, and the lights. And, yeah, I think that was the start of it. And then I did plays at school, like Kieran, and then I went to drama school for 3 years and started working.
No chance that you ever gone to the circus? You didn't want to be seduced by
I probably would have if I'd been in my teens and unhappy. I did a really happy life, so no, I was never dissatisfied with what I was doing. But yeah, if someone had asked me, yeah, I would have.
I like to ask actors this. What was the first job you got where you thought, boy, you can actually begin to make a living at this kind of a thing?
Still waiting.
Not the Seafarer.
Yeah, it's just around the corner. Just around the corner.
Did you worry at all during the strike when you started previewing for 3 days or something like that? The strike came along. Any fear that you could have lost this camaraderie, this ensemble that you'd begun developing?
There was a fear that we were going to be sent home.
Yeah.
Just because I couldn't see how they could sustain paying accommodation and per diems to people who weren't bringing any money in. But they weren't. They never, to be fair to our producers, they were always very kind of reassuring.
Fantastic.
Really,
quietly,
they just stuck by you.
say we believe in this, and whatever it takes, we will just keep you here. And they also offered us the chance, if we wanted to do, was to go home for 5 days for Thanksgiving, which we don't celebrate. But,
What?
so
It's Thursday, I'm home.
I said, "What are you doing here?" But in the end, we decided, well, things had already been set up wherever we come from, and to keep in touch with each other, just meeting, to keep it just ticking
was
over,
smart,
was more important to be ready
Yeah.
to get back.
But you told me, interesting, you read plays. Didn't you guys gather around just to read plays?
Well, we weren't allowed to break the strike by officially rehearsing.
Yeah.
But we met, and we in boardrooms like early Christians.
Strange little
What did you
like
read?
title.
Well, we did O'Casey. We got on to O'Casey.
Yeah. We went Juno and the Baycock.
And it was really interesting because Claffey was the name of the character who Mary's out on strike for.
Claffey, who's the head of the stagehands
Yeah,
union at the
and
time.
Yeah,
So
his
there
name
were-
came up in this junior and a pay card.
Yeah, so we were thinking, well, this is meant to be then.
How interesting.
Made sense of it all suddenly.
Yeah, and it helped. I really think it helped us, to drill it.
Even not
together.
just to run the play itself, but to do other plays, to read
Well,
other plays together.
That helped, yeah. Just for the
just
Dublin side of it.
Yeah,
and,
because once you have something, you want to break the rules of it as well, or see if you can break the rules before coming back to the structure. So inside it, you can dance around it a bit rather than going like it's very rigid. Do you know what I mean? Because you want it to extend and
things
grow
we found
and move.
that, we
So-
discovered things while we were doing that, even
Interesting.
that were helpful.
We got to wrap it up here, but I want to get your.
But we don't know
We'll
when it's
share it
going
with
out.
everybody.
I'm sorry,
We
that
don't know
was
when
an
this
aside.
is being broadcast, but today
This is live all over America
Right now, Jim
Oh,
Norton is
we're
now
in
watching.
trouble.
Jim Norton is 70 today, the day that we record. It's
Yes.
today.
He turned
And we
70
want to
today.
say
Wow.
happy birthday.
So we want to say happy
Oh,
birthday, Jim.
glorious
That's
Love you.
wonderful.
And
Very good.
I think you've been deputized to put a little hat on him.
That's never
No.
going to happen.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Well, just for a second, Jim Norton is a wonderful actor.
Brilliant.
Can you tell me a little bit about just watching him at work on stage?
Well, it's extraordinary when this creation that he has made. It takes my breath away. And I sometimes during rehearsal, I forgot to be who I was. Mr. Lockhart, just being completely taken up by this bundle of energy and wit and imagination.
Puts us all to shame.
It's extraordinary.
His energy.
He's a god. He's brilliant. He's really extraordinary.
Yes, we love him.
Well, it's great work. I mean, really, some of the best acting I've ever seen at the Booth Theater.
Thank you very much.
You've been
And
twice.
a funny
It's
and
been
very
twice.
insightful play.
That's right. No.
Hitting very close to home for many of us.
Yes.
Oh, well, there's some personal issues to take
Yes,
home
yes,
as well.
yes. Yeah,
I suppose.
Kieran Hines as Mr. Lockhart in The Seafarer, and CONLETH Hill as Ivan, who's lost his glasses, but finds them in the end.
He does.
And does turn the tables.
That's ruined the play for everyone. I don't
It's been great having you guys on, and have fun for the rest of your stay on Broadway.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Michael,
Pleasure.
Susan. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Lockhart, you just know that God is in the fly, don't you? The very existence and the amazing design in something so small and intricate as a blue bottle is God's revelation, really, isn't it? Now, don't you feel that?
Except they seem to like to taste it so much, don't they?
Yeah, well, that only adds to their intrigue.
What? It's the Israeli ambassador, the future of the state of Israel? What? Iran has not launched. Iran has not. Get my wife on the phone. Iran has. Look, you people got along without a country for 2,000 years. You're going to be fine, all right?
We're here at the first rehearsal of November. It's now November 26th. Dylan Baker, what do you do at the first rehearsal?
Well, in the first rehearsal, we all look at each other and say, my God, we're really going to do this. And then we read the play and listen to Nathan make us all laugh. Nathan is the President of the United States, and I think he's ready to assume office.
He's as good a bet as anybody at this point.
I think so. I think so.
Are you the kind of actor who knows his lines at the first rehearsal?
Well, for some things, I like to wait and see what's going on. And this one, it's so fast. Our first preview is on the 20th of December, so I'm working on those lines.
This is like one of these date things. Not that I've ever been on one of the,
like
those
speed dating.
Speed dating, yeah.
Right.
Except you get to talk to a big Broadway star. This is Nathan Lane. So how are you? Are you the kind of actor who comes to rehearsals with your lines memorized?
Yes.
They say that about you.
They say a lot of things about me.
You're always ready.
Well, in this case, I mean, honestly, we only have about 3.5 weeks to rehearse, and it's an enormous role. So it's something that's what I've been working on the last couple of months. Is just preparing this, and so yes, I have.
Well, when you say there's only 3.5 weeks, I mean, you strike me as this guy. You can get up and just, you improvise so well. You deal spontaneously so beautifully. Why is 3.5 weeks such a short time?
Well, because it's a new play, and ideally, it would be wonderful to have gone out of town, and you have a chance to take a breath and discover the play, and you're in a fishbowl here, as you know.
Oh, I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a quick 3.5. I remember 4 weeks of rehearsal, but they just told me 3.5. So, in that case, it was important for me to come in. I didn't want to have to be spending a lot of time worrying about just going home and doing the sort of the tedious task of learning it while rehearsing. I love to just keep reading the play, but and then after working on it during the day. But that just seems to be it was for me the best thing to do.
And this is a text like Shakespeare. This isn't going to be like Mel Brooks, where you can mess around with the lines.
No. I mean, there's no reason to.
You and Laurie Metcalf aren't going to cut up and change the show every night.
No. Well, it's not. It's not that sort of piece.
Yeah. What makes a David Mamet comedy a David Mamet comedy? I don't think of him as the master of hilarious plays. Is this got a lot of jokes, or is this
I think there's always been a lot of humor.
Well, Glenn Ross is on some levels hilarious, but it's horribly tragic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's. I think it's his use of language and how people communicate with one another. I think that's what maybe is a signature of his, is what people say, what they don't say, how they say it. In this play, this particular president seems very dependent on his speechwriter, played by Laurie Metcalf, and it's an interesting dynamic of why he wants her to write this. He wants her to write this sort of inspirational speech, and he's a smart man, but he's a bit of a thug as well.
When did Nathan Lane come into your mind?
Well, Nathan Lane came into Joe's mind because Joe, there were, as I understand, like 3 phone calls made to put the thing together. I called Jeffrey Richard and said, "You want to do this play?" He said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Who you want to direct it?" I said, "Joe, of course."
You did such a great job with your last play.
And then Joe read it and said, "I want to do it. What do you think of Nathan?" I said, "I think it's kind of genius." So that's that.
How do you get so much done? You write on a schedule? Well, I'll first ask you that. Do you write on a schedule?
Yeah, the schedule is basically all day, every day. Yeah, it's fun. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, you have any pointers for young writers on how to bring such focus?
Yeah, sure. Get up early, get out of the house, throw away your computer, and you don't got to give young writers pointers. It's like because the young writers of today, as of any day, are the people who love to write. And if you love to write, you're going to do it. And if you do it, you're probably going to get better at it.
This play, is there anything that you can tell us more about it that it's about a president?
Yeah, it's about a president. The United States is about to get voted out of office because he's the worst president in history.
What makes him the worst?
Because, as his sidekick, Dylan Baker, says, he's f***ed up everything he's touched.
Is he a right-wing president?
No, we don't know. He's just a president.
Uh-huh. So, were you inspired by our current president?
I'm inspired by all the presidents.
So you won't commit yourself more than that?
No.
All right. So then what happens to him?
Oh, everything. So he decides he's going to make a couple bucks, put a couple dollars in his pocket because he got to go home. So he decides to pardon some turkeys because the turkey manufacturers are going to give him $50,000 to pardon a turkey.
You think they're doing that now, maybe?
Yeah, they actually do it. I mean, we don't know about the $50,000 part, but we can assume that the president of the United States, his time is valuable.
This year they have a head turkey and an opening.
And what did they pay me last year?
The same, $50,000.
$50,000, but this year they have 2 turkeys.
That's right.
So the going rate this year would be not 50, but $100,000.
I'm not sure they've got it in them.
Well, let's find out.
What's your part in this play?
I'm the president's speechwriter, and I'm helping him to try and get reelected.
People at the water cooler.
Yes.
We don't know their politics.
No.
We wouldn't think to ask them.
That's right.
For we respect their right to be different.
Yeah.
Now, when you come to rehearsal, do you have your lines memorized here at the first rehearsal?
Generally, no. No, I don't. I try and I use the rehearsal period, and we have 3 weeks, so I use that to get off book.
And they're not looking at you to, I mean, David said he's going to keep rewriting up until the opening night, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want to put any pressure on you.
Why bother to learn?
I have one question. I'm going to ask David Mamet if he feels that play about postage stamps, Mauritius, is a homage or a complete ripoff. Will there be lawsuits, David?
You have any questions for Nathan Lane?
I hope that we're out of what he called our Hitler years, when he didn't care for the things that I was writing.
Well, he likes you better than he does Michael Riedel.
Okay, yeah, well, everyone does. But,
I beg your pardon, tell me what you require. I want a number so high, even dogs can't hear it. Are you cogitating?
I am.
And where have your deliberations led you?